What is up, everybody? We're back here at King Film Sports for the 2024 NFL Wildcard Round predictions here, and we've made it through the entirety of the NFL regular season. Got 6 great matchups to break down this week, and I already posted my full NFL bracket prediction earlier, but I'm going to give a more in-depth analysis for all of these games that we will get into here. So first, we have to recap the Week 18 that was, and this one was doing very well for my game predictions off the bat. Here you see these games that I got right, both of them on Saturday, and then all of them in the morning window on Sunday here, including the free lock of the week. Titans +6 there. Even got down to 3.5 during game time. I gave that out on our Betting Picks Discord. Be sure to look into that link in the description there if you are interested. But got down to 3.5. Didn't matter. Titans won outright. They were winning for a lot of the game there. Just Lawrence was not the same after he was injured, and this Jaguars defense was not that great. Titans win in a big spot at home there. And then we get to some of the outright losses that we had. Chargers lost by 1 in a meaningless game. Both teams were really out of it. Chiefs were already in the 3 seed. Then meaningless game between the Broncos and Raiders. Thought that Denver was the better team in that one, but the Raiders did get it done at home. Then a very tough game for the Eagles. They lose yet another game, and it wasn't really close. Eagles were playing a lot of their starters in the first half. We're down 24-0 there, so very brutal loss for them. And then the Niners were not playing many of their starters. In that one, they pulled a lot of people at halftime as well. They ended up losing by 1 to the Rams, who ended up clinching the 6th seed there. So overall, we went 12-4 in the game picks. Pretty good there. And now for the betting locks recap, not shown here is that on Saturday night, we had the Texans -1 there. Just trusted CJ Stroud that he would get it done with the Texans, even on the road there. And it was looking very good off the bat. Stroud was good through the air. Then the Colts are making a bit of a comeback effort. It's 23-17, 4th and 1. They're just surgical moving the ball down the field. Minshew throws it to the third string running back in the flat, wide open, and he drops it. Dubious decision to have Goodson on the field in that position, and the Colts end up getting screwed there. So our Texans bet holds on. So now we get into the Sunday recap and started out here with the Panthers +4.5. And this was just a microcosm of our betting this season. Took the Panthers a lot, and they always disappointed. And it was just the epitome of betting on Carolina because they had so many opportunities to cover this game and probably should have won it outright if we're being honest. You have DJ Chark going into the end zone and he fumbles it at the half-yard line as he's sticking the ball over the plane. So that ends up being a touchback. No points there when they should have had a touchdown. You have a missed field goal by the backup field goal kicker Matthew Wright of over 50 yards, which gives the Bucs good field position going the other way. And then you have a touchdown called off the board because of a holding penalty. And then on the next play, Bryce Young fumbles it. I mean, it's just a comedy of errors there. They don't put up any points, and their defense played decent actually in that game at home, and they lose 9-0 to the Bucs, who end up clinching the NFC South there. So glad that we don't have to take the Panthers in spots they should cover, but ultimately won't for the rest of this season. Then we get to the Vikings-Lions over 46, and this one was in troubled waters to start out the second half here, but then these teams went on a scoring explosion there. There were back-to-back plays where the Lions offense with Amon-Ra St. Brown had a big touchdown, and then the Vikings went down with Jordan Addison. Nick Mullins has just been a great quarterback for the over this season because he's been forcing it down the field, getting a lot of yards in these games, 300, 400-yard games with a few touchdowns, but also some interceptions there. So just a very volatile player. That's good for the over. Then we have the Titans, as I mentioned, for Lock of the Week, which now moves to 14-4, best bet in sports. We're going to be having another one this week, so be sure to tune into that. But yeah, Titans win outright and ruin the Jags season. And then we get to the afternoon slate, which was absolutely brutal for us. We had the Packers-Bears over 45, and this game didn't even have that bad of weather conditions in Lambeau Field. It was just this Bears offense with Justin Fields was so bad in this game. They were looking great before, but Justin Fields just showed that he's not the quarterback of the future in Chicago there. They only put up 9 points against a horrible Packers defense. This Packers defense is one of the worst in the league. I just do not know how that happened. And the Packers should have won this game by a lot more. I think that Love and that offense should have been more efficient in that one. So tough loss for the over there. And then Eagles-Giants, this one was brutal for us because I just thought that the Eagles would put up at least 20 in this game because they were playing their starters. Hurts was in, A.J. Brown was in, and then they were so bad on offense, didn't even put up 100 yards of total offense in the first half and didn't score any points. Final score ended up being 27-10 there, so brutal loss for the over. Then we had the Seahawks -3 for +100 odds, and I was just thinking it's a must-win game for Seattle. Going into Arizona, Arizona is at the peak of their market value with that win against the Eagles. But no, the Seattle defense is really, really bad. They could not stop the Cardinals' offense. Seahawks ended up winning this game by 1. They were down 7 late and scored a touchdown and 2-point conversion, but were not able to cover the spread there. So those teams were pretty equal as it turned out, and especially in Arizona there, it was just always going to be a close game, and so Seattle could not cover the spread there and also could not make the playoffs via the Packers win. win. And then I took the Broncos +3 here. It was a meaningless game, so I only had a half unit on it. Just thought that Denver was the better team, as I alluded to before, but Raiders were playing hard for Antonio Pierce and ended up winning that one big at home. And then that brought us to the nightcap, the Sunday night finale here, where we had a 2-unit lock on the Bills -2.5 there. I just thought that they were so much more talented than the Miami Dolphins there that they would get this win. And it was looking hairy in that first half. The Bills just had so many errors. That is just a classic Bills betting experience, that they're in great positions to have success, but then they somehow ruin it. Josh Allen just making inopportune mistakes, but then finally with that punt return touchdown that flipped things, and then Josh Allen got another touchdown there, and they were able to best Tua and the Dolphins in Miami there. So that brought us to 3-1 on 2-unit plays this season, so definitely be sure to look at those if you're ever in the Discord there. So overall on the week, we were up only 0.1 units there, relatively even week, which brings us up 6.9 units on the year. And our game picks, as I mentioned, 12-4, which brings us to 184 and 88, 68%, hitting at a great clip there. Hope to improve it this week as always. So now we get into the Saturday matchups for Super Wildcard weekend. And we started out with a great game here. We've got the Cleveland Browns battling the Houston Texans. You've got the veteran Joe Flacco, who's obviously been in the NFL for over 15 years and has a lot of playoff experience from his days in Baltimore, against the rookie CJ Stroud. In this one, I'm taking the Cleveland Browns, but I am more nervous, as after I posted that video where I gave out my predictions for the NFL playoff bracket, I saw that a lot of people in the comments were just assuming that the Browns would win this game, and a lot of people have the Browns as dark horses to go to the AFC Championship game, potentially go to the Super Bowl, which I thought was very interesting there, as they have to go into Houston in this one, a team that hasn't made the playoffs for the past couple seasons. This fan base will be rocking in this game, but I just think that the Browns have too much to present. Their defense is going to stifle this Texans offense, as I do believe in CJ Stroud. I think he's a great quarterback, but he's just a rookie at this point, and they have had some devastating injuries earlier this season, Tank Dell being one of them. I think Nico Collins is still great, and they have a fine running game, but I just think against this very good Browns defense, in spite of some injuries on their side, I think that this Browns defense will be able to dominate in that one, and I think that as long as Flacco can avoid the big errors in this game, then the Browns will be set up for victory there. I just think that Flacco will be a game manager, and I think that Kevin Stefanski will dial up a good game plan to get the Cleveland Browns this win on the road. Next, that brings us to a fantastic game between the 11-6 Dolphins and the 11-6 Chiefs. Obviously saw these two teams go at it in Frankfurt earlier this season. Kind of an odd game. Chiefs were up 21-0, then didn't score for the rest of the game. Dolphins battled back 21-14, had a chance to tie it late. In this one, I'm taking the Chiefs once again at home here. This is a classic Mahomes spot. You never bet against the Chiefs at home in the playoffs here in Arrowhead, but this isn't your average Chiefs team. This isn't your Chiefs team from the past 5 years in the Mahomes, Andy Reid era. But still, with that being said, I mean, this Miami offense against good teams is just disastrous this season. They have a 1-5 record against winning teams this year, and that was only a pretty lackluster win against Dallas at home. So I just think that Tua will have to have a great game against Kansas City here. Mike McDaniel is going to have to be in his bag in his play calling against this Chiefs defense, who's actually been a top 5 unit in the league this year. So I just do not see that happening, especially when you consider the weather conditions, this warm weather Miami team going into this climate where it's going to be with wind chill about -10, -15 degrees in this one on Saturday night. So I do not believe in Mahomes in this offense as I did in the past few years, but still, with that being said, Miami's defense has had so many injuries, I just cannot see that they get over the hump here. So I think that the Chiefs win that one comfortably against Miami. Then that brings us to the Sunday predictions here. Started out with the Bills and Steelers, and I think that this one is the most lopsided of all of the games here. Don't get me wrong, the Bills can lose to anyone. They can play down to the level of their competition. Saw on opening night, they lost to Zach Wilson and the Jets. They then lost later in the season to Mac Jones and the Patriots. And then even during this winning streak, they had a couple scares, only beat the Patriots by 6 in a game that they won the turnover battle easily there. And then against the Chargers, they only won by 2 in LA. So they can lose to anyone. Be careful adding this one to your money line parlays there. But with that being said, I do think that the Bills win this one in a rout there, especially with the loss of TJ Watt for the Steelers. That's a big loss for their defense, and I think that Josh Allen will have a great day. I think he'll put up great numbers against this team. He just has to avoid the interceptions, really, and I think that he will be able to do that. And then on the other side of the ball, Mason Rudolph is going to have to be forcing it downfield to keep up this Buffalo offense. I could see him having a couple of mistakes, and then I could see potentially Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky coming in for him and then making even more. And I just think that the Steelers team will not be able to rely on that potent running game that's gotten them this far during this winning streak. So give me the Bills to win that one big. Then that brings us to the Packers and the Cowboys here. And this one should be a very interesting matchup. Bit of a shootout brewing here between these two teams. Give me the Cowboys to win this one, though. This would be a classic Cowboys choke job at home if they were to lose this game to this young Packers team. But I just cannot see that happening. This Dallas team has been so good at home this year. I think they're 8-0. None of those games were really close until that last one against the Lions that made probably some Cowboys fans a bit nervous in that one, as if the refs get that call right on the tackle downfield on the 2-point conversion, they should have lost that game. But still, this Cowboys offense is just so good. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this Packers defense is so bad this season. I think Barry, as the defensive coordinator, is likely fired after the season. I don't see a reality where the Cowboys don't score at least 24 points. I think they potentially get above the 30 or maybe even 40 mark in this game. Jordan Love, very low margin for error in this game. He's going to have to light it up through the air. It's not like this Packers ground game has been that great this season here, but they have had some unlikely names jump out of the fray. So I think that Jordan Love going to have a 300, 400-yard game here with potentially no picks, and I just do not see that happening. I think that he could get picked off here by this talented Cowboys secondary in that one, so give me Dallas to win in a high-scoring shootout. And that brings us to the Sunday night game between the Rams and the Lions here. And in this one, I'm taking the Lions. I also saw in the comments of the video, in addition to the Browns, a lot of people were on this Rams team. I think that a majority of people think that the Rams are actually going to win this game, and perhaps that's because this team got hot a couple years ago with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and ended up winning a Super Bowl. And I just think that the roster is not as good now. I just think that their defense is much weaker, and I think that this Lions offense will be able to take advantage. I'm nervous that the Lions had some injuries this last week, especially with the rookie tight end, Sam Laporta, who's probably one of the biggest strengths of this offense. So they're going to have to rely on that ground game, but I don't think that the Rams will be able to stop that run, and I think that Goff will be great through the air. He's been great and efficient through the air this season at home, so I think that he'll continue that there. I think that Stafford will have to outplay him for the Rams to win this game, and he definitely has the potential to do so with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua on the outside, but I do think that that Lions pass rush against this mediocre Rams offensive line will cause problems there, and I do not think that Kyren Williams will have a big game on the ground. So I think that the Lions win this game close. I also mentioned in the other video that the Rams special teams unit is one of the worst in the league, and I think that will rear its ugly head in this one in Detroit there. So I think that the Lions get this big win at home there. And then that brings us to the finale, the Eagles at the Bucks. This gets us to our lock of the week. The lock of the week is going to be the under 44 in this game, as I just think that the banged up Eagles offense has been struggling in the past few weeks, and the only thing that they've really done consistently all year has been the tush push. Now maybe they can do that the entire game, we'll see, but more than likely that's going to be only in a couple spots. So Jalen Hurts will have to have a big game in this one to cover the over, and I just don't see it with the way that he's been playing. And also, he broke his finger, or at least dislocated it, in that game against the Giants. I think that's going to be tough for them, so I think they're going to rely on that ground game. The offensive line hasn't been as dominant in recent weeks. Swift was out that last game, Devontae Smith was out, and then A.J. Brown got injured on that MetLife turf. So overall, I just do not think this Eagles offense are as good as they were. And although the Eagles defense has been really bad as well, this Bucs offense has not been great in recent weeks. They were completely dormant at home against the Saints a couple weeks ago until late. They had a couple garbage time scores. And then last week, only 9 points against the Panthers. That is very disappointing here. And also, we saw these two teams go at it earlier in the season. The Bucs only got 1 touchdown in that game at home, and it was a garbage time score. Really didn't affect the game at all. And in addition, you've got Baker Mayfield dealing with a couple injuries here. He got lit up in his rib cage a couple weeks ago against the Saints, and then he has some sort of ankle injury as well. So he's kind of coming up limping on a lot of these plays. I think that's going to spell danger here for this Bucs team. So ultimately, I just see this game going under 44 there. Not to mention that we could have some rain in this game and also high wind conditions there. So quarterback's going to have trouble throwing the ball. Ultimately, though, I do have the Bucs winning this game, although I'm not confident in that at all, as I think that the Eagles are just one of the worst teams in this playoff field right now with the way that they've been playing, losing 5 of their last 6 games, and also with a lot of injuries that they've had. But I'm not super high on the Bucs either, as I mentioned. I just do not think that this offense is clicking as it was during that winning streak in November and December. So I could see it going either way there, but at home, I just trust this Bucs team a little bit more. So give me Tampa Bay to get the win there at home. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think of my wildcard predictions down below in the comments. There are a bunch of games that could go either way, and a couple of the games with bigger point spreads that you see here, I mean, I could potentially see some realities where those could turn into upsets. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of my picks here. What do you think of the free lock of the week, Eagles and Bucks? Do I improve to 15-4 there? As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.